Hello friends, and welcome back to Scaling Stories. Today, I've got some more highly upvoted posts from Best of Redditor updates. Like always, I'll be reading you the posts and give you my opinions, and I also hope you do the same in the comments down below. Also, I'm currently monetized through YouTube and Spotify's creator program, so watching on either of those would mean a lot to me. Thank you so much for your support. Today's first story comes from the Relationships subreddit. It was posted by oopschicken on April 5th, 2016, and was titled, I, 29 female, accidentally ran over my neighbor's 40s male/female chicken, and I don't know how to resolve the situation. The details are pretty much in the title. I live in an affluent suburb within an urban area, and many of the people in my community own chickens. I guess it's a thing in suburbs now, I'm not sure. But in any case, when my husband and I moved in, we noticed a lot of chicken coops in backyards. My next door neighbors own about 12 chickens that they allow to range down our street. It's not all the time, but occasionally, I'll come home and see chickens plucking in our front yard. It's not a big deal, and I'm not bothered by it in the slightest. This morning, I was in a rush to head to work. I had gone into the office early but forgotten some packets I had created for a work presentation. So I rushed home, gathered everything, and rushed out. Except that, in rushing out, I felt a dreaded badunk-a-dunk. That meant I had hit something. I looked over to my right and saw a few chickens in my front yard, and my heart sank even lower. I got out of my car, and sure enough, I had hit and killed one of my neighbor's chickens. I called my husband, freaking out, unsure of what to do. He told me to wrap it up in some newspaper or something and leave it by the neighbor's chicken coop, and he would call my neighbor. Of course, we didn't have newspaper, so I ended up wrapping up the poor thing in a trash bag. I also wrote an apology/sympathy note expressing my sincere condolences for the accident and offering to help in any way I could. This was all very quick due to my standing appointment at work, so it was perhaps less polished than I would prefer, but I wanted to try and do it as right as possible. My husband called our neighbor during my presentation, and our neighbor was not happy. And not happy to the point of going on a community message board and Facebook and talking about us. He said we stuffed his chicken in a trash bag and scribbled a note about it on an old fast food bag, which isn't true. I have blank stationery and used one of the blank cards for the note. He also began talking about pressing charges and reported us to the HOA. And now it's this huge thing, and half of our neighborhood hates us, and I'm not sure how we can resolve the situation peacefully. I think we should offer to buy a new chicken for our neighbor, but my husband disagrees. He thinks it's the neighbor's own negligence in letting his chickens roam that led to this. My husband believes an accident was bound to happen, and the neighbor is to blame, which I don't necessarily disagree with. But this chicken was a pet to my neighbor, and when a pet dies or is killed, people's emotions can get the best of them. What's a good way to resolve this, Reddit? Scaling Stories Corner. So, first off, I feel terrible that someone's pet died. And I feel terrible that OP had to go through the experience of accidentally running over someone's pet. But also, this neighbor is extremely in the wrong for letting his chickens free roam anywhere and them expecting nothing to happen. If you cared so much about them, you would keep them gated and protected in your backyard, not where they can get randomly run over accidentally. And also, I don't see what he could possibly press charges for or call the HOA about to get OP in trouble. Because if anything, I think he's the one that would get in trouble because his animals are free roaming onto other people's property. I agree with OP's husband that it's completely the neighbor's fault for this happening in the first place. But I also understand if the neighbors are in denial because they're emotional over the chicken's death. And ultimately, I think OP did enough by apologizing and offering to help in any way she could. Now here are some of the top/relevant comments from the original post. Commenter 1 says, "Screw that dip. You shouldn't have apologized since that indicates you did something wrong. Now he feels he has something to be offended about. The truth is, he shouldn't be letting his chickens run all over the effing place if he wants their safety guaranteed. I see you posted you often find them grazing in your yard. That is well outside the bounds of where his chickens should be allowed to roam. If I were you, I would contact the HOA. Don't mention the incident, just find some facts about what the allowance of pets/livestock is and where they are allowed to roam unattended. Most likely, they don't allow someone's chickens to run around on other people's property with or without a caretaker. I bet the HOA threat is bullcrap on his side, so find out their true stance on pets/livestock roaming the neighborhood and onto other properties unattended. Next time he says anything about it, you can let them know the HOA sides with you and not him. You are not in the wrong here." OP says, I will call my HOA president on my way home from work today. Good idea. I didn't even think of researching the animal laws within the city. Commenter 2 says, I'd say to keep the peace, pay for a new chicken, which is like $6. I've had them for years. Hell, if you're in Ohio, you can come get a chicken from me. But he's being totally unreasonable. Free-range chickens die. They die a lot, and often. It's the cost of doing business when you let them free roam, which I guarantee is against some city ordinance anyway. Let him contact the HOA. I'm actually quite surprised they even let you have chickens to begin with. Again, I'd offer to pay for the chicken he was basically neglectful about just to keep the peace. If he won't accept, F him and sit on your porch with a bucket of KFC and glare at him. OP says, oh, husband was already asking if he could stop by Popeyes tonight and bring it to the HOA meeting. Oh my god, this guy's a demon. I didn't realize chickens were so cheap. I think I'll do that, as well as what another poster suggested, which is contact the HOA regarding livestock/pet roaming allowance. We are legally bound to keep our dogs on a leash, so it's not unreasonable to assume that my neighbor would be bound to keep his chicken in a coop. Update 2 days later. Hi Reddit, I meant to update yesterday, but it was another long workday, and I pretty much collapsed once I got home. First of all, thank you all for the advice and the laughs. I truly felt bad for running over the chicken. It just left me feeling icky for accidentally harming and killing an animal, but your perspective was welcome and helped lighten the mood. My husband would like to treat you all to a round of beers because he's convinced that everyone was on his side, even though I'm not sure there were sides. He also thoroughly enjoyed your excellent responses, which I'm afraid have only encouraged his continued chicken jokes. Husband is a special man. But on to the update. I ended up working late on Tuesday, but while I was working, my HOA president, Michael, called me. He apologized for not seeing the Nextdoor post earlier, and he put in a request, on our behalf, to have the post removed. Apparently, the thread grew so large that someone had started a second thread about the incident. But thankfully, the request went through, and the posts were pulled before it could get worse. We couldn't do much about the Facebook posts, but oh well. Michael asked if my husband and I could come to the meeting earlier so he could talk with us. So pretty much when I got home, we went to meet with Michael. The gist of the conversation was that our neighbor has a knack for causing issues with others in the neighborhood. Most people in the community ignore it, but some people also like the drama of getting involved. Michael said it would blow over eventually, and in the meantime, if we needed support, we could call on him and his husband to help out. Michael also assured us that he would address it in the general meeting. At the HOA meeting, Michael opened it up by reminding us that we are a community, that it's important to respect each other, and that if we have issues, we need to resolve them privately. He said harassment online or in person would not be tolerated, and reminded us that it would be within the victim's rights to contact law enforcement. He also passed around packets that outlined our city's ordinances regarding animals, and he said any violations involving free-range livestock would be fined starting that evening. After the meeting, many people came up to us to show their support, and overall, we left feeling better and not ostracized. We did not end up offering to buy a new chicken because our neighbor and his wife pretty much avoided us, and they left before the meeting was over. So the bad news is that we won't be able to borrow their lawnmower or be invited to their annual summer party. The good news is that I think we'll still survive. I also think some of my distress over the event has been from being stressed with work. I've been pulling 60 to 70 hour weeks lately, and, of course, accidentally harming and killing an animal. I think those two factors combined made me blow it all out of proportion a bit. ScalingStories Corner. Yeah, I'm not surprised that the HOA completely ruled in OP's favor because it made no sense for the neighbor's chicken to be free roaming on other people's property and then blame the property owners when something happened to the chickens. Like, it's absolutely your duty as the pet and animal owner to make sure your pets are secured in your own property. If the chickens for some reason caused damage to someone else's property, the neighbors would have definitely been liable for the damages and sued if they didn't pay up. Now here are some of the top/relevant comments from the update post. Commenter 1 says, I'm glad it ended well. I love pets and have had pet chickens in the past, so I would have been devastated about one getting killed. However, if I was letting them run amok, then that's on me. I hadn't even heard about Nextdoor until this post and promptly signed up. Sadly, or maybe not, my neighborhood is quite dull. It just sounds like your neighbors like to gripe for griping's sake and add the inherent drama of the internet. Uh-oh. Glad your HOA and other neighbors have your back. Maybe they'll keep their ladies corralled this time. Commenter 2 says, next door is a comedy goldmine. A+, would recommend. Start a thread about offensive house colors and watch the neighborhood burn. OP says, neighborhood paranoia makes for great entertainment. Our neighbors like to post about barking dogs and suspicious cars, but my favorite was when one of them thought there was a loose mountain lion in the neighborhood. Commenter 3 says, a round of beer and Popeyes for all, and an extra crispy drumstick for your HOA president. He's a valuable ally. So glad this got resolved by sane people. OP says, Michael is a great friend, and he and his husband were so welcoming when we first moved in. I have never dealt with HOAs before, so I'm not sure if this is par for the course for HOA presidents, but he's truly wonderful. Okay friends, so that concludes our first story of the day. Next up, we have a story from the AITA Weddings subreddit. It was posted by IsThisIdeaGoodIdk on January 25th, 2026, and was titled, My parents, male/female, late 60s, don't want to come to my wedding, 27 female, if my brother, 36 male, can't come. My brother and I are 9 years apart, and we were never close. I never really understood why, but my parents would always say we'd get closer as we got older. That never happened. I have no memories of him at all from my childhood, and every time I'm forced to interact with him now as an adult, he's a total jerk. He'll gaslight me, never apologize even when he's clearly in the wrong, and my parents just wave off his behavior as a personality quirk. A couple of years ago, his now ex, partner of over 10 years, accused him of sexual assault and filming her, and other women having sex with him without her consent. These accusations horrified me. She was a part of our family for most of my life, and while we weren't close, she always was very sweet and kind to me, unlike him. The civil suit is still ongoing between them, as far as I know. I am having an extremely intimate wedding of 35 guests. I did invite my brother, but he never RSVP'd. When I told my parents he never RSVP'd, it was now nearly 2 months past the deadline. They reached out to him, and he reached out to me. He blamed me for him not RSVPing, said the process had been too confusing, even though he never reached out with questions, and every other guest managed to RSVP just fine, and he demanded a +1 for his girlfriend of 6 months, who is over 10 years younger than him, and 3 months pregnant, apparently. I put my foot down and said no, I don't want him there. My friends know how uncomfortable he makes me, and initially, my parents said, while they were sad, that they would ultimately respect my choice. Now, with about 2 months until my wedding, they have changed their minds. They won't come unless he does. I am heartbroken. They say I am being immature, and disinviting him is a bridge too far. I am not a parent, but I am trying to see their perspective. But I just can't shake how they always seem to minimize my emotions and make me the problem, even on my wedding day. Am I being unreasonable? Scaling Stories Corner. This sounds like to me that the brother is very clearly the golden child that can do no wrong. It's OP's wedding. She should be allowed to invite who she wants, and if she doesn't want her brother in it, then he can't be in it. To some people, if your family member doesn't invite you to their wedding, then the relationship is probably torched. But it sounds like the brother did all the torching here. He's constantly bullied OP throughout the years, and he blamed her for not RSVPing. But if you had problems because RSVPing was too confusing, as he claimed, then why did he never reach out to OP in the first place for help? He clearly didn't care and just wants to cause drama. I don't think he ever intended on going to OP's wedding, and he's now just making his parents side with him like they always do. If the parents don't want to come, then don't come. That'll make it crystal clear to OP who they actually love. And also, the fact that he has a 10-year age gap on his girlfriend along with those accusations of SA and stuff? Yikes, just yikes. Now here are some of the top/relevant comments from the original post. Commenter 1 says, not the jerk. Your parents are, yet again, putting him before you. You should not have people at your wedding that make you uncomfortable. I'm sorry your parents hurt you yet again. OP says, that's how it feels, heartbreak emoji. Commenter 2 says, your parents aren't hosting the wedding? Just asking. OP says they are paying, which is where this gets complicated. They have been completely uninvolved the entire time, even when I've tried to involve them. My mom didn't want to go dress shopping with me. Neither of them cared about seeing venues with us. I invited my mom to my final dress fitting, and she said she was busy. OP says in a different Reddit thread that gives additional context on the cost of the wedding. I'm getting married at Harbor House Inn, but I wouldn't say it's affordable. It may be doable for you though. Harbor House has insane fees. I'm getting married in less than a month, so I'll report back if it was worth it or not. For reference, guest count is 33, getting married on a weekday in March, and negotiated the hell out of them, and it's $60K for just the venue, catering, and lodging, inclusive of all fees. Update 1 month later. So, we scheduled a family therapy session. My parents, my fiance, and me. It went horribly. I calmly explained that I expected my feelings and comfort would be prioritized on my wedding day. My mom very calmly said, "You are wrong." It spiraled from there. My parents called me selfish and entitled, said my decision was disrespectful to them, and didn't hold back. My fiance and I kept our composure and remained calm. They raised their voices and started mocking my therapist at one point. My mom even said my attention to all the little wedding details didn't bode well for my marriage. Honestly, this comment sticks with me the most. I am extremely detail-oriented. It's one of the things I love about myself. It's something important for my job, and it's important for all my hobbies, so it felt extremely personal. After the therapy session, I texted every single one of my extended family who is coming to the wedding and let them know that my parents may not be coming to my wedding and the reason why. The outpouring of support I received was overwhelming and touched my heart. They assured me they were coming to my wedding for my fiance and me, not my parents or brother. I've never been super close with my cousins/aunts, but I've been following up and checking in with them more often now. About a week later, my mom called me and said they decided they wanted to come. My dad made it clear he was going to support his wife and that I ruined this experience for them. So, that was fun to hear. My wedding is in 2 weeks. I am praying for no drama, but at this point, I've accepted that I can't control what they do. I'm still hyped to get married and see all my friends/extended family. My in-laws have really stepped up. My future mother-in-law checks in every week to see how I'm doing. My mom hasn't checked in. I'll let y'all know how the wedding goes. Scaling Stories Corner. So, I'm on team F these unsupportive parents because they clearly don't give a crap about OP. But also, I'm on team put on a mask and be cordial because they're paying for the wedding. And unless OP and her fiancé can afford it without their help, then they're sort of also at their mercy in some aspects. After the wedding is over, I would definitely rearrange my priorities in life, and those parents would definitely not be close to the top. Now here are some of the top/relevant comments from the update post. Commenter 1 says, "Miss Ma'am, I would rescind their invitation. You know that they're going to bring up your brother and cause issues. Your day should be special." Commenter 2 says, "OMG, I went back to read your original post, stumbled down the rabbit hole of other wedding posts, and discovered that your parents are paying for the wedding, and the estimated cost is $60,000. Is their paying for the wedding in 2 weeks conditional on being allowed to attend?" OP says, "That's not the estimated cost for the entire wedding. That's just the venue/lodging/food/beverage. But them paying is why I don't feel comfortable uninviting them." Second update 6 months later. "Hey y'all, I'm back. As a precaution, a few days before the wedding, I sent my venue some press my brother was featured in. His ex called him a rapist in a national publication where his photo was shown, so they knew to watch out for him and what he looked like. At the end of the day, I was 95% sure he wouldn't come. Growing up, he would never show up to events I wanted him to attend, and my wedding was in an extremely remote location anyway, so I felt I had sufficient insurance. And I was right, smiley face. He never showed. Most of my stress was centered around my parents. I was concerned that they would cause some kind of scene, but they were pretty withdrawn the whole day. But at every moment, I was low-key terrified they would do something. When I finally took my wedding dress off, I was covered in hives, so that was fun. But honestly, looking at the pictures of the day, I look happy and relaxed. I absolutely love our pictures. Every vendor did a phenomenal job, and I look back with mostly fond memories. Where my parents and I stand now. Weird. Before the wedding, I honestly would have thought they were my best friends. I felt like I could tell them anything. Therapy didn't last long, but in our final session, I let my mom know that I felt like, fundamentally, they treated my brother and me very differently. Where they expected me to show up early, they were just happy if he showed up at all. If I'd gotten pregnant at 25 to a man 11 years older than me on a first date, not 5 years after graduating from an Ivy League school they paid full price for, I knew they would not be excited for me. But for him, they were delighted. My brother and his fiancée ended up getting married only a day or two after me, in a nearby city, by a justice of the peace. My parents attended, but to my knowledge, it was extremely small. She was 6 or 7 months pregnant at this point. I feel like the best friends I thought I had in my parents are now people with whom I have major value differences. I don't know how to reconcile the people I grew up with the people who've been crappy to me the last 9 months. I don't really call or text them anymore. Maybe that will change. I don't know. About the money, a lot of people called out the cost of my wedding, how my parents paid and, therefore, could call the shots, etc. I will be honest, my parents are very wealthy, low 8-figure net worth. The amount they paid for my wedding literally meant nothing financially to them. Beyond this, I often wrestled with the concept that they paid, therefore it was their party. But that concept is so gross to me. If I threw my friend a birthday party, it would be so crappy of me to invite someone they had a horrible relationship with. Even if I paid for every single thing, I would never do that to a friend. I said as much to my parents. I underscored that if I had known my wedding budget hinged on my brother's attendance, I would never have accepted a dime. They agreed putting conditions on the money retroactively was unfair. Anyway, married life is great. My husband is amazing, and I appreciate every single comment. I read them all. Can't believe so many people cared. Scaling Stories Corner. I am so glad OP's wedding went off without a hitch, and I hope she and her husband have a great future. Besides that, I'm surprised that the parents, even though they're so blatantly favoring their piece of crap son, they actually agreed with OP when she said what they did was unfair by attaching the wedding budget to the piece of crap brother's attendance. I would have expected them to deny OP yet again and push her to the side, because that's what they've been doing. OP's analogy to not screwing over her friend, even if she was the one to throw that friend their birthday party, must have clicked for them. Or maybe not, who knows. But anyway, I hope OP and her husband live a happy life together. Now here are some of the top/relevant comments from the update post. Commenter 1 says, literally just read the Boru post and thought, I wonder if everything went okay. And boom, here's the closure. It's unfortunate your parents couldn't reevaluate their choices, but at least you have a new family that cares about you. Commenter 2 says, Reddit tends to think paying for something is a pass for absolutely anything. Commenter 3 says, they showed up when their reasoning was shared with the extended family. This shows you they are capable of understanding their unreasonable claim and wanted to claw back the terms lest their social capital take a deduction. To me, this is the most insidious part. Their actions are ultimately self-serving, and the brother somehow feeds that. Whenever he crosses their line, they pull whatever levers they can to compel him into compliance. If you reconnect, remember they love themselves more than you. If it weren't true, they would see reason. Commenter 4 says, OP's parents were never her best friends. They were friendly on the condition that she never disrupted their family system or challenged their enabling behavior. Okay friends, so that concludes today's video. Leave a like and comment down below to let me know what you thought of it, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Take care.